Hello there, friends. It is Jimmie Maverick coming at you, and it is the FantasyFrenzy podcast. And as always, I got my good friend Swami Rob on the phone. Swami, how you doing today?
I'm excited that there's a second life to fantasy season, dude.
That's
because
true.
This is about the time that we're already thinking about next year, you know?
That's true. That's very true. And hey, happy New Year to you, 2020, a whole new decade. It's going to be exciting to see what happens here over the next 10 years.
Yeah, but I tell you, man, 2020 be a hell of a lot better if I won this playoff challenge. I came in second in the regular league, and I'm out for blood in 2020.
There you go. There you go. I appreciate that. Yeah. And just to let you know, I had to get the heck out of New Mexico. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now, and the weather is beautiful, and I'm glad I'm here because I've been seeing all the pictures and everything from back in Santa Fe, and let me tell you, man, it looks cold out there, cold and snowy.
Yeah, it's not too bad today. It's real cloudy, but actually it's 40 degrees, which has been an upgrade over the last week, so it could be worse.
Well, yeah. I'm glad I'm here, but I do come back to New Mexico tomorrow, so I got that happening. But so anyway, we are talking the NFL Playoff Challenge today. If you haven't done so already, here's what I want the listeners to do is Google NFL Playoff Challenge and sign in. You have to create an NFL.com account. It's a free account. And then what you do is you do a search for Fantasy Frenzy, one word. You'll find us. Join the league. It's a public league. And again, we are playing for a $100 Amazon gift card to whoever scores the most points in the challenge. So this is a way to extend your fantasy season through the NFL playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's basically a standard points league. You have to roster a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. And the kicker with this is it's a race to the finish style. So you're not going head-to-head against anyone. You're just trying to score as many points as you can. But if you start a player for 2 consecutive weeks, you get 2 times points on the second week. If you start him for 3 consecutive weeks, you get 3 times points on the third week. And if you start him for all 4 weeks, including the Super Bowl, that player would earn 4 times points in the Super Bowl. So it all comes down to, who are you going to pick, which is going to make it to the Super Bowl? Because those are going to be the kickers that are going to put your team over the top and win this contest. So with that,
well, it's going to put your prognostication skills to work too, because obviously if you pick somebody who gets bounced wild card weekend, you're screwed. So you're also going to have some skill at calling the games, which is something you don't necessarily have to worry about during the regular season.
That's true. You absolutely want to avoid the one and done teams. So we're going to go through all of them today. We're going to talk players, and we're going to talk, who you and I are rostering in this to give people ideas. So I'm going to start with the easiest one. We're going to start in the NFC. And this weekend, we got the Eagles versus the Seahawks, and the winner of that game gets to play San Francisco. So what do you think about who do you think is going to make it past this week?
I'm going to call a shocker here. I had Russell Wilson as my big point pig during the year, and he's been trending down. And I really like it. Now, do we know if Deshaun Jackson is going to be back or not? Because there was talk he was.
Oh, I have not heard anything about Deshaun Jackson. I would not count on him.
Yeah, probably not. But Zach Ertz has been hurt. I have a feeling Dallas Goedert is going to get some catches. I really like him. I'm going to take Philadelphia to upset Seattle in this game. I feel like Seattle's trending down. I like the heart Philadelphia is playing with. Carson Wentz has been out of his mind, giving the pedestrian receiving crew he's had. I really like the running back, whose name is
Miles Sanders.
The running back. Thank you. I really like the way he's played. I get the feeling Philadelphia is kind of feeling their oats all of a sudden, and Seattle's a team they beat earlier this year. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game at home. Do I think they'll go further? No, but I think they get past Seattle.
Yeah, I think you're right, too. And also just the fact that Chris Carson is out and it's Rashad Penny, right, as the backup. He's out.
Right.
I mean, they brought in Marshawn Lynch, who I'm sorry, man. I mean, he's an amazing player, but he's 34, and it's like, and he comes in cold, ice cold for this game. I mean, I'm just not anticipating much out of him there. So yeah, I definitely also see the Eagles advancing, but I don't see any way that either of these teams can make it past San Francisco. That team is just really dang good. So, yeah.
You know, I would love to see round 3 San Francisco, Seattle. I have a feeling that both those games are damn entertaining. The only thing that worries me if I'm Seattle right now is the defense has been really porous. And Carson Wentz has put up some pretty damn good numbers with nobody. I have a feeling he could have a big day against Seattle's defense. I really do. But if Seattle manages to win this game, I think a Seattle-San Francisco game would be great to see round 3 of myself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that would be great as well, but I really don't see them advancing. You know, I mean, that's the big thing for me is I just don't see them making it past the first round of the playoffs with the team in its current condition. You know, you also got like Tyler Lockett has basically virtually disappeared. You know, DK Metcalf is slumping. You know, I mean, who does Seattle have on their team? I just don't have any faith with any of these players in starting anyone as far as this NFL playoff challenge goes for that team.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's run out of bullets for sure, which is too bad because DK Metcalf I had most of the year, and he was really productive until I needed him most. And
yeah.
he just disappeared.
Tyler Lockett, same thing. Tyler Lockett was like amazing. First 9 weeks of the year, then they went into the bye, came out of the bye, and he just evaporated. He was a complete non-factor. What I was saying on my Instagram is I was saying, does he have something in his contract that he can only catch like 80 passes? That's it, and then he's done for the year. You know, I mean, is that what happens with his because that he's never really gotten much more than that. But regardless. Who of these 3 teams, when you look at these 3 teams, who would you roster in your NFL playoff challenge?
If you're talking about Seattle and Philadelphia, or are we including San Francisco in the conversation?
We're going to include San Francisco too, because, you know, we're talking because you can start teams that are on a bye, and those players will get quad points if they make it to the Super Bowl, right? It still counts. They'll get 0 this week, right? But they'll get double next week, triple in the championship, in the league championship, and then the Super Bowl they get quad points. So I am considering all players for this week as far as who do I want to start, and I'll give you 2 of mine, and I'm thinking San Francisco is going to make it to the championship game. I'm going to go Kittle. Absolutely, Kittle is my tight end choice of this group. And then I also like Mostert, man. I think Mostert is a great running back in a run-first offense like what San Francisco has, playing against either of these other teams. I think he's going to be very productive. So those are the 2 guys that I am rostering from this group of players.
I was just going to say Raheem Mostert's one of my sneaky stealth picks because Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida, it's a nice little 3-headed monster they've got. But if you watch San Francisco play in the last month, Mostert's been great, and they throw the ball to him a lot. I really like him as a pick. Right.
So are there any other players that you like?
If there was a flex position in this fantasy playoff challenge, I wouldn't hesitate to put Mostert in the flex at least.
Right.
You know, I might Miles Sanders – No. I don't think Seattle's going to advance. I think Philadelphia's got 1 round in them. It's got to be 49ers guys the whole way.
Right. That's what I thought too. And again, this is the easiest one, man. This is the easiest one. So let's move on to the other NFC division. This one got a lot tougher because of the way the end of the Week 17 shuffle happened. Green Bay is the number 1 seed, but they get to play the winner of the Saints-Vikings game, which happens this weekend. And I got to say, man, are the Saints going to be denied 3 years in a row? I don't think they are. I love the Saints. I'm all in on them taking it and taking down Green Bay and going to the Super Bowl. That's who I think is going to make it on the NFC side. What do you think?
Well, if the refs cooperate, the Saints could get there. One thing that you don't think about is that the non-pass interference call in the San Francisco-Seattle game at the end ended up screwing New Orleans on a playoff seeding. So even when they aren't in the game, the refs are screwing them over on pass interference calls. So I got to tell you, if I'm the Saints and I'm playing the Vikings, I double team Stephon Diggs until the last second ticks off the clock and we don't get another Minnesota miracle.
Yes.
But if the refs cooperate and nothing fluky happens, I think it's a no-brainer. I think the Saints are going to take the NFC.
I agree, man. I think that's going to happen. And, you know, frankly, Green Bay's a little bit of an enigma. It's kind of surprising that they're the number one seed, frankly. You know, Aaron Rodgers, he's been good, but he hasn't been Aaron Rodgers this season. He's had a couple of good games, but it seems like his skills have declined over the past few years. And I just think the Saints are a team that is focused and determined to get over that hump and get to the Super Bowl. So when you look at these three teams, who do you like for the NFL Playoff Challenge? Who are you going to roster that of this group of players?
2 words for you: Aaron Jones.
Yes. I think Aaron Jones is a fine choice. He has been amazing. He's been amazing, but he's been inconsistent. That's the big thing this year. Is he's been the guy that gets you 20 points one week and 5 points the next week, and he's been doing that consistently. He's been consistently inconsistent this season. But yeah he's been playing great late. I do love him very much. Yeah, he's a great choice. I'll tell you that. For me, I'm going with the league leader wide receiver this year, breaking records, Michael Thomas, man. He has just been playing so good and just amazing connection with Drew Brees. He's going to be big in he basically didn't play any bust games this year. It was crazy. I don't know how he did it. And I don't know how he maintained an 80% plus reception rate. His reception rate is the same as it was last year. And last year was like at 86%. I think this year it's like 85%. It's crazy how good he is. And so he is one of my picks for the NFL Playoff Challenge for sure.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. But, you know, you can also take a look at Devontae Adams as a solid pick too. One thing I wouldn't do, I wouldn't be looking at Diggs or Thielen or Rudolph or even Dalvin Cook, because the one thing I feel out of these three teams is I think Minnesota is going to get their balls stomped on in this first round game. They're not even going to be competitive. They're going to be done quicker than any team in the first round of the wild cards. Minnesota's not going to have anybody. They're going to be out of sight, out of mind quicker than you can say we're done.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's Kirk Cousins, right? And Kirk Cousins doesn't play good in nationally televised games. He just doesn't play good in those games. So, yeah, I think you're totally right. I think the Vikings are one and done. I would not take anybody from that team for sure. But as far as
I'll tell you this, though.
Okay.
Let me tell you this, Jim. One thing that I heard a rumor last week, and I thought to myself, with this fantasy playoff challenge in mind, I said, if that materializes, and I have my doubts whether it will, but if it is, I'm picking this guy up. There was talk the Saints were looking at Antonio Brown. And I thought, man, coming in with fresh legs this late in the year, it wouldn't surprise me if he just blew up, because then, they obviously aren't going to be able to cover both Thomas and Brown. And I thought that might be a sneaky pick for that if they actually signed him, but that never materialized.
Yeah, never materialized. And even if he got signed, he wouldn't play because he's still on that commissioner exempt list. So he is not cleared to play. So I think that was kind of a non-story for me when it broke. But I think that should not be allowed. You shouldn't be able to bring in a wide receiver on the playoff week, I mean, something like that.
Well, if it ended up being somebody pedestrian, like who was the guy the Jets had a couple years back that had played for the Broncos for a while, receiver?
Demaryius Thomas, or?
No, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I can picture the guy. If this guy would have just shown up on waivers all year long, nobody wanted him, and then they grabbed him in week 15, nobody would care. But if it's Antonio Brown, all of a sudden everybody's throwing a fit.
Oh, sure. I mean, look what Antonio Brown did in his one game he played this year for the Patriots, coming in cold. The dude was the number one receiver on that team. So, yeah, I mean, but fortunately we don't have to deal with that. But as far as another player who I like here, I got to say, I got to go with the kicker, Will Lutz, man. I think he is clutch, and he has been a big part of every game the Saints have played. I think he's a great choice for your kicker because of that. And like I said, Saints are going to the Super Bowl. That's my prediction right now. The Saints are going to get over that hump, and they're going to get to the Super Bowl because they've been denied the past 2 years. It's going to happen this year. They are just quiet and confident, and they're going to go.
Take into account, if the Saints end up at Lambeau, how well is Will Lutz going to kick outside in sub-zero temperature?
That's true. That is certainly an issue, and we'll definitely have to see what the weather is like in Lambeau on that playoff weekend, if and when it finally happens. So,
and I also take a good look at the Saints defense, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they've been great.
Yep. So that's another one that I'm kind of eyeballing here.
And
No
Alvin
doubt.
Kamara has really come on the past couple of weeks. He finally seems to be over that high ankle sprain, and he is always a game changer when he's healthy. So, Kamara is another option there. All right, so now on to the AFC. Let's move on. And I'm going to start with this one is probably, for me, it's the hardest to call because there's three very good teams. You got the Titans against the Patriots this weekend. That's at Foxborough. And then the winner gets to play the Chiefs. So, I mean, we've got some good teams here. What do you think is going to happen in this in this grouping of players? Who do you like the most? Who do you think is going to make it to the Super Bowl?
Let me tell you something. You're going to think I'm high, and you're going to chastise me for this, but I'm thinking of the Atlanta Super Bowl 3 years ago, and I'm thinking about one player that's Bill Belichick's secret weapon that they go to out of nowhere after you haven't heard a word from him for weeks. And I bet you he's the secret weapon because New England is going to beat Tennessee this weekend. Take it to the bank. And,
I agree.
And the guy who's going to, whose back they're going to ride to get past Tennessee? One, James White. I'm telling you right now, James White is going to have a huge week this first week. Now, do I want to stick with him all the way to the Super Bowl? Probably not. But I'll bet you he has a big, big game against Tennessee. The Titans are going to get beat. Bill Belichick, there's no way he's going to lose to one of his old players in the wild card round, no matter how bad they look.
I got to say, of this group, I think the Patriots are going to do it. It was kind of surprising that they lost their first round bye and they lost their home field advantage through the playoffs in week 17. But I got to say, Belichick is the evil empire, man. Belichick and Brady, the evil empire. And I don't see how they don't make it to the championship game, at least on the AFC side. So, I think they're going to be able to take out Tennessee this week and Kansas City next week. Again, Kansas City just can't ever seem to get it done in the playoffs, and that's the thing. And they're not as good as they were last year. So I think it's going to be one and done exits for both those teams, and it will be Brady once again vying for his seventh Super Bowl ring is what's going to happen here. So,
interesting. I think I'm opposite you on this one. I feel like Kansas City's flown under the radar for so long this year because you're right. They haven't been quite as impressive this year. I have a feeling this is the year the Chiefs break through. I really like some of the things they're doing. Now, their defense they've stouted themselves up in the last month.
Yes.
And they're playing like everybody hoped they would have. And Tyreek Hill has been great. Damian Williams has been great. Patrick Mahomes is great self. Travis Kelce is great self. There's tons of point potential on Kansas City. And I think, based on the fact that Kansas City has already beaten Baltimore once this year, I think they could do it again. I think the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to ride a lot of them. Yeah.
It's just like a monkey on the back for the Chiefs, though. They always fall short in the playoffs. And I got to say, the Patriots defense is certainly for real. And Brady just conjures that freaking magic. I don't know how he does it. But I got to say, the players that I'm going to ride in the NFL Playoff Challenge, I'm riding the Patriots defense because that defense has been outstanding this season. I'm going to ignore Week 17 against Miami, but they have played outstanding and just have shut down passing games. They're not as good against the run, but passing games they've certainly been able to shut down. And I also do like Edelman, man. I'd go for Edelman too. He just always seems to be there at the most critical times of the season, and he has been impressive this year. I was not expecting the kind of performance that he gave this whole season, and now he's in the playoffs, which is when he shines. He is great in the playoffs. So those are my picks.
Right. I'm going to give you two thoughts before we wrap up these three teams.
Okay.
My first one is there's an old saying where I come from. It says that the sun even shines on a dog's ass once in a while. Kansas City is due. Okay. So, and then my second thought is Stephon Gilmore may have played himself out of Defensive Player of the Year with that game against Miami. He had it locked up until that game. Now I don't know who's going to get it. It would have been Gilmore up till last week. Boy, he looked bad.
Right.
I just get there's a vibe I'm getting. I wish I could give you numbers. I wish I could give you hard stats. I can't. There's just a feeling I'm getting that Kansas City, while they're under the radar and everybody's saying what you're saying, you know, they never get it done in the playoffs. They're going to get it done this year. I feel it.
All right. Well, we differ there. So who of what players would you roster then from this group of teams? Are you going to go Tyreek Hill? Are you going to go Patrick Mahomes for your quarterback? I mean, what are you thinking?
Absolutely. No, I'm not. I'm still going Lamar Jackson, but I would consider Mahomes. Kelsey, absolutely. Tyreek Hill, absolutely. I don't know that I'd go with any of Casey's running backs. They've looked good at times, but not consistent enough for me. New England's defense, yeah, probably, but that would mean they'd get bounced in the first round according to my prediction. So I might go rogue at defense. I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right, great. So the final segment then is also, again, very interesting, but I think we're both going to go the same way on this. You got the Bills playing the Texans, and the winner gets the Ravens. Who are you thinking is going to take this segment? Who's going to go to the championship game of these three teams?
Yeah, it's going to be Baltimore. Easy.
Oh, yeah. Ravens all the way.
Yep. And I wouldn't even think about Deshaun Watson, even though he's had some big weeks. Buffalo's defense is going to shut him down.
Right.
Buffalo's going to beat Houston. I think a Buffalo-Baltimore game, if you like defense, would be pretty entertaining, but I don't even think Buffalo's defense can shut Lamar Jackson down. So there's not even a whole lot of conversation here.
Right. Nobody's been able to shut down Lamar. So, exactly. I agree. And
maybe Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram has, he might surprise you. He's looked really good at times. He might be a decent pick as your RB2. I don't know. I don't think I'd go with any of Baltimore's receivers.
I wouldn't.
Maybe Andrews at tight end, but even then, I'd be way more comfortable with Kelsey.
Right. And for me, it's Kittle. So, yeah, exactly. Andrews is great, and he has played fantastic this year, but I'm just not going to trust him in the NFL playoff challenge more than these other tight ends that we've been talking about. But, yeah, I mean, I think consensus for both of us is Lamar Jackson as your quarterback for the challenge. Am I getting the correct vibe here? That's who you're going to start?
I don't know how you don't. I just don't. Because he's going to get it done on the ground if he isn't going to get it done in the air. And typically ground games win games this time of year.
Right.
And there's your guy.
Yes.
Now, I do have a question for you, though. Something's just popped into my head.
Okay.
So you say we've got X amount of people that are signed up for this so far, and there will be more before Saturday. Obviously, there's a lot of consensus picks.
Right.
What happens if you got 20, 30 guys that all pick the same roster?
Oh, that never happens, man. It never happens. It's like snowflakes, man. Fantasy football is like snowflakes. Everybody picks. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their unique strategy. I would not worry about it, especially when you're going over 4 weeks. There's going to be changes.
Right.
There's going to be, someone that you pick is going to be a dud the first week, and you're going to be like, I got to put someone else in that spot. And then, even if you lose the double, triple points or whatever. I mean, again, you can go counter. You can go counterintuitive and pick, maybe you go Aaron Rodgers or maybe you go Drew Brees. There's going to be lots of people that are picking that guy. But for me, it's just like I'm going Lamar Jackson, so that's great. And by the way, you're mentioning Mark Ingram. That's also a great choice for running back day. He is a pick for mine at running back as well during the playoffs. So,
I got to tell you, if you pick the number 1 and the number 2 seed in both conferences, and I look at those teams, so you got Green Bay, you got San Francisco, you got Baltimore, you got Kansas City, right?
Right.
Out of those 4 teams, which one is going to take a dump in the playoffs and end up being a no-show earlier than later? I'm saying Green Bay.
Yeah, I think Green Bay too. Although they do have home, they're going to be at home, so it's hard to say. But for me, again, I'm picking some underdogs to win. I'm picking the Patriots on one side and the Saints on the other. Guys in the wild card round that are going to go all the way. I'm thinking they're both going to make it to the championship game at least. So that's where I'm sitting right now myself. But your Super Bowl prediction: who is going to be in the Super Bowl?
Kansas City and New Orleans.
Really? Okay.
That's who I like. Yep. That's who I like.
Well, I'm going to go Ravens, and I'm going to go the Saints. Ravens and Saints for me. That's who I think is going to make it this year. So.
Yeah, that's a good pick. The only team that I really feel uncomfortable leaving out of those two that I could see getting through, and it's a hard pick for me, San Francisco. I feel like the Niners they're damn good.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels like maybe a year early for them to be arriving already. I'm probably wrong about this, but
Right.
I just feel like San Francisco's still about maybe a year away from real dominance in the postseason.
I think you're right. I mean, they really came out of nowhere this year, have done fantastic, although I'm still not a believer in Jimmy Garoppolo. But yeah, they have played amazingly good and going from, I don't know, what they had like 5 wins last year or something terrible like that. So,
Well, yeah, but granted, they were starting Nick Mullen at quarterback, so I'll give them a pass. But yeah, I kind of had a feeling they'd turn it around. Now, if I'm looking at the entire field of postseason teams,
yeah.
and there's a real unlikely team in there that has been hot leading into the postseason and might suddenly catch fire and make a little noise, you know, I don't think any of them are very likely, but I guess it wouldn't shock me if Tennessee suddenly went on a run.
Yeah, Tennessee is good. I mean, really, they played extremely good this year. And, you know, Tannehill has been a great fit for that offense. Derrick Henry has been awesome. I love Derrick Henry. I think he's going to be a top 6 pick for next year. So, you know, he's got that going on. So, yeah, I think, you know, that team is definitely going places. And I like where they're heading as a team. So I think it's great.
Yeah, there's only 2 teams in the whole field that I'm looking at, that entire playoff field, and I'm saying you're done without the blink of an eye. There's only 2
right.
that I just would count out immediately. That's Houston and Minnesota. I think everybody else, even Philadelphia, I think may have a chance to make a little noise. I just don't feel like Houston and Minnesota are going to make any noise at all. I think they're going to go out with a whimper real quick.
Yeah. So it is more of the same for Houston, man. Just constantly good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to do anything in the playoffs. So, you know, that's kind of where they've been forever.
Once the Chiefs put all this postseason hex thing to rest this year, Houston will be the new Kansas City moving forward.
There you go. I'd love to see that, man. I mean, they certainly have the pieces. You know, they got the offensive pieces for a great fantasy team. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Swami, for joining me today. And we will talk next week. We'll talk about the results of the first round of the playoffs and where we're sitting with our NFL playoff challenges. So again, for you listeners out there, please Google NFL Playoff Challenge and join our league. It's FantasyFrenzy, one word. Just search for that group, join the group, and you can play. There's no entry fee or anything like that. And again, we're playing for that $100 Amazon gift card to whoever scores the most points and wins that contest. So good luck to everyone out there this weekend for the playoffs. It's exciting, it's fun, and it's a way to keep fantasy football going for the next month. So thank you very much for joining me today, Swami, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, you as well.
And we will talk next week. Good night, everybody. Have a good day.